Take a look at dealer lots this year. Rows of bikes that once sold out are now sitting with price tags slashed and dust on the fenders. From Harley cruisers to Ducati superbikes, 2024 turned into a year nobody saw coming. Rising prices, slow demand, and high interest rates hit the market hard, and riders are paying the price. Some of the most respected machines on the road lost nearly a third of their value in just 12 months. So tonight, we're counting down 12 motorcycles that crashed hardest in value from 2024 to 2025, and what their fall really means. Number 12. Harley-Davidson Sportster S. Every generation of riders remembers the first time they heard the growl of a Sportster pulling away from a stoplight. For decades, it was Harley's symbol of independence, light, tough, and stripped to the essentials. But in 2024, that legacy took a sharp turn. The factory rebuilt it from the frame up, chasing performance numbers that could rival modern imports. What rolled out looked aggressive and fast, but something familiar was missing. On paper, those specs make it one of Harley's most advanced machines. Out on the road, though, it divided riders. The throttle response is sharp, the torque immediate, yet many said it feels more mechanical than emotional. For those who came up wrenching on carbureted iron, the new design trades the heartbeat of tradition for the hum of technology. The display screens glow bright, but the connection between man and machine feels dimmer. Used listings in 2025 tell the story clearly. Bikes that cost $15,000 new now sit around $10,500, losing nearly a third of their value in a single year. Riders call it the cost of progress. Others call it the price of forgetting what made the Sportster special. The bike produces 121 horsepower from a 1,250 cubic centimeter engine that delivers 93 pound-feet of torque. It uses a dual front disc Brembo braking system with a single rear disc and a Showa inverted fork front suspension paired with a piggyback monoshock in the rear. Wet weight stands at 502 pounds with a seat height of 27.9 inches. Starting price was listed at $15,499, placing it between old-school cruisers and modern street fighters. Still, the lesson here runs deeper than dollars. Power alone cannot replace identity. The Sportster S shows what happens when a brand reaches forward faster than its loyal riders are willing to follow. The next motorcycle on this list carried even more power, yet still found itself trapped in the same downward spiral of lost value and fading faith. Number 11. Ducati Panigale V4. Among high-performance machines, few names carry the same weight as the Panigale. It has always stood for Italian precision, mechanical beauty, and that fierce growl that could shake any rider's pulse awake. Yet in 2024, even this superbike met the cold truth of a shifting market. Riders admired its speed but hesitated at its cost. The very engineering that made it breathtaking on the track made it painful to own on the street. For riders who live for precision, the Panigale is still art on wheels. Every curve and contour was carved for aerodynamic purpose. But those same lines hide a truth most veterans already know. Speed costs money, and maintaining a bike like this costs more. Oil changes can cross the $1,000 mark, brake service hits the wallet hard, and specialized tuning demands time few riders want to spare. When the joy of ownership fades into the anxiety of upkeep, value starts to fall fast. The bike delivers 210 horsepower from a 1,103 cubic centimeter engine, producing 90.6 pound-feet of torque. It features a dual front disc Brembo braking system with a single rear disc, supported by an Öhlins NPX 25/30 pressurized fork at the front and an Öhlins TTX 36 monoshock at the rear. Wet weight measures around 415 pounds. Seat height sits at 32.5 inches, and its starting price was $24,995. By 2025, resale listings showed prices dipping near $16,500, a slide of roughly one-third of its value in just 12 months. Even for riders who respect its engineering, that kind of drop stings. The Panigale remains a weapon on a closed course, but in everyday life its beauty is both its blessing and its burden. The next motorcycle on this list shows that even German precision was not enough to escape the same fate. If this breakdown hits close to home, hit like and drop a comment. Tell us which bike's fall surprised you most. Number 10. BMW R12 150 GS. Every few decades, a motorcycle earns a reputation that seems untouchable. The R1250 GS built that kind of legacy. Reliable, versatile, and able to cross continents without complaint. For years, it was the go-to choice for riders who wanted comfort without giving up capability. But by 2024, even the great adventure icon started showing cracks in its armor. A newer, lighter version arrived, and the once mighty machine suddenly looked like yesterday's news. For a decade, riders swore by the GS for its balance of power and comfort. You could ride from the Rockies to the coast without feeling beat down. But when the new R1300 GS hit showrooms with more horsepower, less weight, and a sleeker frame, buyers shifted overnight. Suddenly, the R1250 GS sat on dealer floors longer, its resale numbers dipping faster than expected. The bike produces 136 horsepower from a 1,254 cubic centimeter engine, delivering 105 pound-feet of torque. Braking comes from a dual front disc system paired with an anti-lock braking system, and suspension is handled by an electronic semi-active setup using BMW's telelever front and paralever rear design. Wet weight is 585 pounds, seat height measures 33.5 inches, and the starting price was $20,945. By mid-2025, used prices hovered around $14,000, marking nearly a third of its value gone in 12 months. Even loyal owners admitted that the newer model's technology made theirs feel dated. The fall wasn't about failure, it was about progress, moving faster than pride. The R1250 GS still delivers everything it promised, but the market's moved on. The next motorcycle on this list proves that even a track legend can lose ground when evolution outruns demand. Number 9. Yamaha YZF-R1. The R1 has long stood as the poster child of Japanese superbike dominance. It carried the DNA of MotoGP technology to the open road and proved that Yamaha could blend precision with passion. Riders respected it for its balance, raw speed without the fragility of pure race machines. Yet in 2024, the world of superbikes changed, and the R1 began to show its age. Newer rivals with adaptive electronics and comfort upgrades left it feeling like a purebred trapped in a changing stable. On paper, those numbers scream performance. But in the real world, the market began leaning toward practicality, bikes that could carve corners yet stay comfortable on the highway. The R1 remained focused on the racetrack, where fewer riders wanted to spend their weekends. Maintenance costs also piled up: sticky tires, short service intervals, and insurance rates that would make even seasoned riders shake their heads. The bike produces 197 horsepower from a 998 cubic centimeter engine, delivering 84 pound-feet of torque. Stopping power comes from a dual front disc Brembo braking system and a single rear disc, while suspension duties are handled by a KYB inverted fork at the front and a single rear shock. Wet weight is 448 pounds with a seat height of 33.7 inches. Starting price was $17,999. By the middle of 2025, resale prices dipped to around $12,000, erasing roughly one-third of the bike's original value. For loyal Yamaha fans, it was a hard truth. Pure speed no longer guaranteed strong demand. The R1 still holds its place in motorcycle history, but the market's moving toward versatility, not velocity. The next bike on this list proves that even extreme power can't always protect a legend from falling value. Number 8. Kawasaki Ninja H2. Every rider has a story about the first time they saw a Ninja. For decades, that name meant pure power, and none carried it louder than the H2. It was the kind of machine built to prove what happens when engineers chase speed without limits. But by 2024, that very pursuit became its weakness. The H2 was too extreme for daily life, too expensive to maintain, and too much for a market now chasing practicality over peak numbers. Those figures still sound incredible, and on a straight line, few bikes can touch it. But outside of drag strips and bragging rights, the H2 became a victim of its own legend. Riders soon realized that its massive horsepower rarely met open-road reality. Insurance costs soared, service visits required specialized tools, and even the smallest repair carried a four-figure estimate. The supercharger that once made headlines now makes buyers hesitate. The bike produces 228 horsepower from a 998 cubic centimeter supercharged engine delivering 110 pound-feet of torque. It uses a dual front disc Brembo braking system with a single rear disc and an anti-lock braking system. Suspension comes from Öhlins electronic components front and rear. Wet weight is 509 pounds, seat height measures 32.7 inches, and the starting price was $30,500. By 2025, resale listings hovered around $20,000, showing roughly one-third of its value lost in just 12 months. The H2 remains one of the wildest machines ever built, but that kind of raw power has a limited audience. For everyday riders, the thrill no longer outweighs the cost. The next motorcycle on this list proves that even long-respected icons can lose value when the market outgrows their appetite for excess. Number 7. Suzuki Hayabusa. Few motorcycles have carried a reputation as powerful as the Hayabusa. For more than 2 decades, it symbolized sheer speed, the kind of power that turned highways into test tracks and made legends out of ordinary riders. But by 2024, the world had changed. Speed limits grew tighter, insurance grew steeper, and younger riders stopped chasing top speed in favor of everyday comfort and practicality. The Hayabusa still had brute force, but the market that once worshipped it began to move on. For riders who grew up in the late 90s, this machine was untouchable, a record breaker that redefined performance. But as the years passed, that same power turned into a liability for resale. Few new buyers wanted a hypersport bike built for speeds they would never legally see. Maintenance costs, high fuel consumption, and limited comfort made it less attractive next to modern sport tours and adventure machines. The bike delivers 187 horsepower from a 1,340 cubic centimeter engine producing 112 pound-feet of torque. Braking comes from a dual front disc Brembo braking system and a single rear disc, while suspension is handled by a fully adjustable inverted front fork and a link-type rear shock. Wet weight is 545 pounds, seat height measures 30.7 inches, and the starting price was $18,799. By 2025, used listings showed average prices near $12,500, marking a one-third loss in just a single year. For a motorcycle once considered immortal, that fall stings. The Hayabusa still carries the soul of a legend, but today, its thunder echoes from a different era. The next motorcycle on this list reveals that even massive torque and beautiful design could not stop the slide in value. Number 6. Triumph Rocket 3. There are motorcycles built for comfort, others built for speed, and then there's the Rocket, a machine built to dominate the road by brute force alone. It arrived with the kind of torque that could pull a stump from the ground, a statement of engineering more than practicality. By 2024, it remained one of the boldest cruisers on the market. But while it could outmuscle nearly anything on two wheels, its size, price, and limited audience began to weigh heavily on its value. On paper, that torquey number alone could turn heads anywhere. In reality, it made the Rocket a specialty bike. Powerful, beautiful, but far from practical. Most riders who tried it admitted it was thrilling but intimidating. The immense weight and muscle required to handle it pushed away casual buyers. Long-distance riders often found the posture tiring, and its price placed it out of reach for many middle-class enthusiasts. The bike produces 165 horsepower from a 2,500 cubic centimeter engine, generating an incredible 163 pound-feet of torque. It uses a dual front disc Brembo braking system with a single rear disc and a standard anti-lock braking system. Suspension comes from a Showa fork up front and a fully adjustable Showa monoshock in the rear. Wet weight measures 725 pounds, seat height is 30.9 inches, and the starting price was $23,895. By 2025, resale values had dropped to around $15,500, a loss of nearly one-third in only a year. Dealers called it an exotic cruiser in a world that was turning back toward lighter, simpler machines. The Rocket remains a mechanical marvel, but even marvels can lose momentum when the market decides that more power isn't always better. The next motorcycle on this list shows that even legendary touring comfort could not escape the same reality. If you ride for truth, not hype, subscribe now, because real riders deserve real stories the industry won't tell. Number 5. Honda Goldwing. For nearly half a century, the Goldwing has been the touring king, a motorcycle. Built to swallow miles with ease while carrying rider and passenger in armchair comfort. For long-haul riders, it was the one machine that could do it all. Smooth, quiet, and nearly bulletproof. But by 2024, that legacy began to show its age. A new model arrived, lighter and more advanced, and suddenly the old faithful found itself parked behind progress. The Goldwing remains one of the smoothest touring motorcycles ever built, but the market that once prized its comfort began to shift. Riders today expect lighter handling and better fuel efficiency. The 2024 version, still excellent, was overshadowed by the redesigned model that arrived a year later. That newer version came with an updated frame, improved technology, and a slimmer silhouette that made the older one feel like yesterday's luxury. The bike produces 125 horsepower from an 1,833 cubic centimeter engine, delivering 125 pound-feet of torque. It features a dual front disc braking system and a single rear disc with an anti-lock braking system, while the suspension uses electronically controlled dampers at both ends. Wet weight measures 840 pounds, seat height stands at 29.3 inches, and the starting price was $25,700. By mid-2025, used listings showed values dipping towards $16,500, marking a loss of over one-third of its sticker price. For many longtime owners, that decline stings more than the miles they've ridden. The Goldwing still defines reliability, but even a legend can lose its crown when innovation moves faster than loyalty. The next motorcycle on this list proves that even bold reinvention can struggle to hold its worth. Number 4. Indian Challenger. The Challenger entered the scene as Indian's answer to modern American touring. It promised power, precision, and a fresh take on the classic bagger. For many riders, it looked like the perfect balance: strong lines, sharp handling, and the kind of comfort that could rival any long-haul Harley. But by 2024, the same bold approach that made it stand out also made it vulnerable. Newer updates arrived too quickly, leaving the original model looking older than its miles suggested. The Challenger was built to conquer long roads with modern muscle, yet its timing worked against it. When the refreshed version launched with a more refined suspension, improved engine mapping, and a sleeker fairing, riders naturally gravitated to the new one. The earlier version's resale value dropped sharply as a result. What was once the pride of the showroom became a tough sell on the used market. The bike produces 122 horsepower from a 1,769 cubic centimeter engine that delivers 128 pound-feet of torque. It uses a dual front disc, braking system, and a single rear disc with an anti-lock braking system. Suspension is handled by a Showa dual bending valve front fork and a single rear shock with a remote reservoir. Wet weight measures 812 pounds, seat height stands at 26.8 inches, and the starting price was $24,499. By mid-2025, the average resale price hovered near $15,500, roughly a 37% loss in only 12 months. The Challenger still looks and rides great, but even great bikes struggle when upgrades come too soon. The next motorcycle on this list proves that raw power and heritage alone can't protect a naked powerhouse from the same fate. Number 3. KTM 1290 Superduke R. Every rider who's ever thrown a leg over the Superduke knows exactly what it represents. Pure aggression in mechanical form. It's not a cruiser, not a tourer, not even a superbike. It's a bare-knuckled street fighter built for riders who crave torque over manners. But in 2024, that kind of ferocity became a tough sell. The market shifted toward versatility and comfort, and the Superduke's raw power came with compromises that everyday riders could no longer overlook. It's a monster by any measure. Light, fast, and capable of shaming sport bikes on twisty roads. Yet that same intensity made it impractical for many riders. The aggressive ergonomics, hard suspension, and minimal wind protection turned long rides into endurance tests. When KTM released the newer 1390 version with even more torque and advanced electronics, the earlier model suddenly looked dated. Dealers started offering incentives to move remaining stock, and used listings fell quickly as buyers chased the upgrade. The bike produces 180 horsepower from a 1,290 cubic centimeter V-twin engine, generating 103 pound-feet of torque. It features a dual front-disc Brembo braking system paired with a single rear disc and a cornering anti-lock braking system. Suspension comes from fully adjustable WP Apex forks in the front and a WP Apex rear shock. Wet weight stands at 463 pounds. Seat height measures 32.9 inches, and the starting price was $19,999. By 2025, the Superduke's resale value had dropped to around $12,500, cutting nearly 37% in just 12 months. It remains a marvel of precision engineering, but power alone can't carry a motorcycle when the market craves balance. The next bike on this list proves that even racing pedigree can't stop a superbike's fall from grace. Number 2. Aprilia RSV4. Among performance motorcycles, few carry the same level of respect as the RSV4. It's the kind of machine built with one purpose: to dominate the track and prove that Italian precision can rival anything from Japan or Germany. But by 2024, even legends faced a new kind of challenge. The RSV4 remained fast, aggressive, and technologically sharp, yet it became a casualty of changing priorities. Rising ownership costs, expensive maintenance, and a shrinking superbike audience pushed it from hero to hard sell. The bike produces 217 horsepower from a 1,099 cubic centimeter V4 engine, delivering 111 pound-feet of torque. It uses a dual front disc Brembo braking system and a single rear disc, supported by a cornering anti-lock braking system. Suspension comes from Uhlens Smart EC 2.0 semi-active components at both ends. Wet weight measures 475 pounds, seat height stands at 32.5 inches, and the starting price was $18,999. Even with those impressive numbers, the RSV4 faced headwinds. Insurance premiums were steep, service intervals were short, and parts availability remained limited in many regions. Riders admired its performance but hesitated at its practicality. Meanwhile, new sport touring and adventure models offered everyday comfort with more forgiving costs, drawing buyers away from pure superbikes. Dealers noticed it too, once elite models sitting longer on showroom floors. By 2025, used RSV4s averaged around $11,500, losing nearly 40% of their value in just a year. For a machine born from racing heritage, that decline felt undeserved but inevitable. The RSV4 still represents Italian craftsmanship at its finest, yet the market reminded everyone that brilliance doesn't always translate into resale strength. The next and final motorcycle on this list shows how even futuristic innovation can crumble under the weight of progress. Number 1. Zero SRF. For years, electric motorcycles promised to change the future of riding. The SRF was supposed to lead that charge, a sleek, all-electric powerhouse aimed at proving that silence could still deliver excitement. When it launched, many riders admired its torque, instant acceleration, and futuristic design. But by 2024, that promise began to crack under the pressure of rapid innovation. Battery technology moved faster than resale values could follow, and what was once cutting edge became outdated almost overnight. On paper, it looked like the future. In practice, the SRF ran headfirst into the realities of an evolving market. Range anxiety, limited charging infrastructure, and high replacement battery costs began to haunt owners. While newer electric models arrived with longer range and faster charging times, early SRF riders found themselves holding technology that depreciated faster than anything on the road. Even dealers struggled to resell them, as many buyers still preferred the sound and soul of a combustion engine. The bike delivers 110 horsepower from an electric motor producing 140 pound-feet of torque. Braking is handled by a dual front disc system with a single rear disc and a standard anti-lock braking system. Suspension comes from Showa fully adjustable forks in the front and a Showa rear shock. Wet weight, including the battery, measures 497 pounds. Seat height stands at 31 inches, and the starting price was $19,995. By 2025, resale prices averaged around $11,000, marking a 45% drop in just 12 months. The SRF remains a milestone in electric design, but it also serves as a cautionary tale. The future of motorcycling may indeed be electric, yet this model reminds riders that innovation often comes with a steep price, and not always the kind worth paying. So there you have it. 12 bikes that went from showroom pride to resale heartbreak in a single year. For some riders, it's just numbers. But for those of us who've spent decades in the saddle, it's proof that the industry's changing faster than the road ahead. If you found this breakdown useful, hit that like button. It tells YouTube you still care about real biker talk, not corporate fluff. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these bikes surprised you most, or if you've watched your own ride lose value this year.